Hi, 501 class, and welcome to the spring of 2022 semester, your first semester in our program. So welcome not only to class, but to our program. I am your instructor in this class. I am Dr. Simpson. I'm sure I met some of you during the interview process, but for those of you that I have not yet met, I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and learning a little bit more about who you are and how you came to our program, your interest in counseling as we go along through the semester. So the first thing I want to do, much as you would expect in an in-person class, is review our syllabus. And so if you have not taken a look at our syllabus for the semester and the course schedule, please pull that up right now. I'll wait, or you can pause. I'm kidding, just pause. Just pause your video and go get the syllabus. And then after you're done with this, you can print it out and have it with you all the time. 9 out of 10 answers can be found through either the course syllabus or the course schedule. I promise you that. So this course is your first experience with counseling theory and counseling technique. I wish that this would just called Counseling Techniques 101. The way that I structure this class for my sections is that we spend a very good amount of time understanding the basics of counseling and the basics of working with another human being and sitting with somebody else and having a conversation and practicing what those foundational skills are for that every counselor should have. So there are a lot of times you're going to be practicing with your peers, with others, and of course this course has the immersion week, which we have already planned, and now the date is slipping my mind. I'll look it up real quick so everybody has it. The immersion week is a required part of this class. It's the week of the 21st. I don't have the schedule specifically set yet, but just usually I will block off from 8 to 4 as that general window of time to be online. There are breaks built in, so don't feel like you're going to be, sitting there on Zoom on camera the entire day. And of course, there'll be a lunch break. But generally speaking, on Monday, we do start a little bit later in the afternoon. And then on Friday, we might end a little bit earlier. There's a number of different presentations, activities, et cetera, built in throughout the week. But it is a requirement of the class. If you are not able to attend the immersion week, you don't complete the class. If you know right now that you're not going to be able to attend for whatever reason that week, just reach out and let me know. We'll probably have you take 501 at a different time. So you'll notice within the syllabus, I've got a lot of just general information about, the structure of the course. I mentioned this in the announcements area of eCampus. Hopefully you all have been able to take some time as we start this week out to kind of familiarize yourself with eCampus, the format, the structure, and all of that. We will be having a student orientation that will be the second week of classes. And you'll notice in this class, I do have things open for module 1 for the first week because a lot of students like to come in and even though content doesn't start until Friday of the week, that first week of class, a lot of students do like to get the syllabus, schedule, introductions going. So there's nothing that's graded this week, but if you want to be in there, great. So student orientation will be the second week of classes, which will be the week of the 17th. Look for more information from Donna about that if you haven't received it already. I put it in my announcements. I should lost track of where I was going there. I put it in the announcements in the class section on eCampus, how to get in touch with me. I have office hours every single week on Wednesday from 11 to 2. I sit on Zoom essentially during that period of time, and I sent the Zoom link in the assignments area as well. That link doesn't change throughout the semester. If there's ever a need for me to not be there on a particular Wednesday, things come up, I will send out an announcement and let you all know. If you would like to hold a different appointment with me, if Wednesday afternoon doesn't work for you, I do use and highly recommend that you do as well to schedule appointments with me me. Calendly, it's an app that I found very useful. It syncs everything up with Outlook calendars. I can block off my own personal time on my Outlook calendar, and so I'm not double booking myself. And I try to keep as up to date as I can with that. So please, if you're not able to meet with me during my office hours, please use the Calendly for scheduling. Once you do that, once you schedule on that app, I send a Zoom link to our calendar invite, and so then you will have that to meet with me as well. I prefer Zoom. If you need to talk over phone, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know. I do have evening appointments, generally speaking, from about 2:30 until 7 at night. During the weekdays, I am off the grid, off the course grid, off the university grid. I have 3 children. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So I switch gears from being Professor Simpson during the day to mom in that period of time, and then I jump back into it in the evenings. So I also tend to answer emails later in the evening as well. And I try to keep up with those as quickly as I can. I'm just one of those people that cannot stand having, that email notification and not responding to it. All right, so moving along through the syllabus. The course objectives, expected learning outcomes, and standards are all set essentially by our accreditation organization, CACREP. So these are, the foundational learning outcomes and objectives that every student going through a CACREP accredited counseling program is expected to develop throughout this particular course. So we really, like I said, we're going to emphasize the basics of counseling. You all probably got into this program or were interested in counseling because likely at some point somebody said, wow, you're a really good listener. I really like talking to you. Maybe you should be a therapist one day. Or maybe you had some experiences with great therapists or maybe some not so great therapists. And so you're in this profession with the hope of, helping others, which is fantastic. Talking to our friends, talking to our family, being a sounding board for others, and the way that you have likely been doing that throughout your lifetime is not the same as providing counseling. And so we are going to take this entire semester to learn the skills and the techniques that you will use and build on, really, as you move through the program and when you move into the next counseling theory and techniques class. We have one textbook, Ivy and Zoliquette, Intentional Interviewing and Counseling. If for some reason it asks you to purchase the Mind Tap from Cengage, don't do that. I don't use that for this particular course. You don't need to. I do have some supplemental readings that come up throughout the rest of the semester. Nothing else would be anything you have to pay for. It's just that one text, and you can feel free to buy the e-version if you'd like, or the online version if you'd like. In terms of assessment, in this class, it's a standard 100% or 100 points. So I do that with all my classes, really, and I think a lot of us do. So 100 points is the max that you can get in this class. And one of the most important things I think that being a new student you need to be aware of and understand is that in all of our courses, 80% is the benchmark for any assessment. That means any kind of quiz, exam, paper, you name it. In this class, there's a lot of counseling observations. So 80% is that benchmark. You have to achieve an 80% on any assignment, or you will be asked to do a remedial assignment. It doesn't replace that initial grade. So the grade is what it is, but if you do score at 80% or lower than an 80% on any assignment, I will reach out to you and ask you to complete a remedial assignment. It happens. It just does. And I understand that this is your first time doing a lot of what you're going to be expected to do for the rest of the time you're in this program, the counseling and working with other individuals. So I understand where you're coming at in terms of your level of knowledge and skills and whatnot. So I'm mindful of that. And whenever, especially if it comes to a counseling observation assignment for this class, if somebody does score lower than an 80, it just means that I'm really going to be looking for additional growth throughout the semester, additional skill development throughout the semester. It just means practice more. That's all it is. And so, I don't consider it a failure. It just is an area for improvement. You're going to be learning a lot about APA writing style throughout this program. If you have not purchased the APA 7th edition manual, I highly recommend that you do. There's not really anything in this course that would require you to use APA style. We don't have any kind of term paper. We don't. The reflection papers that you have are just that. They're just a reflection, and so there's not any kind of need for citations or a reference page or anything like that. But for other classes, certainly you will. So in terms of assignments, what do we have? So we have discussion posts. So every single week, you'll have a short discussion post, informal. Feel free to be using different types of mediums for that discussion post. You can type it out like a lot of people do. You can feel free to post a video if you like. Use media if you have examples to illustrate what, the topic that we're discussing, whether it be culture or social justice or ethics or any number of things, any counseling in the age of COVID, there's a lot of different ways that we can make the discussion boards engaging and useful, quite frankly, rather than just posting responses to general boring questions. So discussion boards will open up on Fridays and they will close at 11:59 that following Thursday. I generally take one day per each of the classes that I'm teaching to go into the discussion boards and provide responses and whatnot. That usually will be a little bit later in the week, so I can give everybody a chance to post. If I don't respond to your discussion post, it doesn't mean I'm not looking at it. It doesn't mean that I don't care. It doesn't mean anything really. It just means that maybe, there was another discussion post that piqued my interest for that particular week, and maybe next week it'll be on yours. And sometimes I, will post on everybody's. It just depends. But so the discussion in total is worth 20 points, I believe. The way it's broken down in the schedule, I'd have to look again, though, is that there's 10 total discussions throughout the semester, 2 points per discussion. One of those points is for content. The other point is for participation. I promise you, if you do not respond to others on the discussions, you will not get full points for the discussions. And I've had all too many students, put the discussions on the back burner. But really, if that's an easy 20 points to get. It's a really easy 20 points to get. But if you start not posting, it can really hinder your grade at the end of the semester. So there are reflection papers for them throughout the semester, 5 points each. Different topics, for each reflection paper, and those are posted or will be posted, well, I don't think I have them in the modules. I think I'm going to have them in an assignment area in this particular course, but I'll go back and look at that at some point. And then baseline videos. There are 2 of these. So there's one that's early on in the semester, and then one that happens towards the end of the semester. And this is where you are selecting somebody from anybody of your choosing, really, except for a family member. And my goodness, do not ever select anybody that's under the age of 18 for any kind of assignment, video, whatever it might be throughout the rest of the program. So the baseline videos are where you're essentially recording yourself working with somebody else. I'll give you some guidelines on what those baseline videos, the topic should be. The first one, really is a practice of an intake and practicing your disclosure statement and confidentiality spiel. And so these are around 10 to 15 minutes max 15 minutes. I got to watch all of them, and they're a lot. So you will submit these, and I'll give you some guidelines on how to submit them as well. eCampus, if you've never used it before, can be a little bit finicky, and it especially does not like for students to upload MP4 videos, for example. So you can't just record on your computer or your phone and then upload that file. It's got to be in a different format. A lot of students will just either use YouTube if their participant agrees to that, send me a YouTube link, Google Drive, things like that will oftentimes work. Zoom as well. If you're recording on Zoom, you upload it to the cloud, and then I can view it on Zoom. That's another way that I can view it as well. In the immersion week, there are two observations during the immersion week, and I'll explain a lot more in detail about the immersion week as we get closer to it. But basically, you're going to be practicing a good amount with your peers throughout the entire week, and you're going to have not only myself, but other faculty members, second-year students, other supervisors, that we work with, observing you in small groups. Usually I have students break out into breakout rooms in groups of 3. And so then you're practicing being the counselor, you're being on the side of the client, and then you're being an observer for your peers as well. So there is a counseling observation at the beginning of the immersion week and a second one at the end of the immersion week. And so, yeah, that's pretty much that. And I'll provide rubrics for that and what is expected before that assignment pops up as well. And then at the very end of the semester, you have a 20-point final exam. It is cumulative, and so I provide a review for it. I don't, since you all have never had me before, I'm a pretty straightforward instructor. I don't try to trick you. I try to provide you with concrete guidelines of what my expectations are, and the same goes for any kind of exam that I might be giving. I don't want to set you up to fail. I want you to succeed. And so the final exam questions, there's 20 questions, 1 point each, and they are just kind of covering the basics, what I would expect at the end of the semester that you would know about the foundations of counseling. So please take some time to review all the policies that the university has that we adhere to. The more important ones that I like to focus on early on in the semester are the accommodations policy, the ADA accommodation policies. If you need an accommodation, make sure to go through the Office of Accessibility Services. That way I can know, and then we can work things out prior to getting too deep into the semester. And the incomplete grade policy is a good one to know as well, even though we are early on in the semester. Make sure you're familiar with it, but more than that, make sure that you check out the provost and registrar's website for dates in the semester where there's a cutoff for dropping a class and withdrawing from all classes. So WVU tends to change that. It used to be a little bit earlier in the semester. Post-COVID, they've changed it and shifted it depending on the semester. So just make sure you're aware of those dates in case you needed to drop the class. So taking a look at the course schedule in the syllabus, it's pretty detailed. The learning outcomes that we will cover for each particular module. Again, this week, this first module is just review the syllabus, a little introduction discussion participation that's not graded, but I do encourage you all to get on there. Take a look at the course schedule again. I've included on there when spring break is, so you have a spring break, nice little rest period, and then you'll come back for immersion week. I include when the assignments are due, when the final is open, so if you are like me and you rely heavily on a calendar for scheduling and organization, just put all these things on your calendar now. Only, in special circumstances do I change due dates or, move around assignment due dates. It's not common for me to do that. So you can feel pretty confident that, on the 24th of February, you're going to have a reflective paper due and your first baseline video due. Late assignments are not accepted unless you have prior approval. Prior approval is approval prior to that 11:59 on Thursday for whatever that assignment is. If I hear from you afterwards, that's not prior approval. I'm pretty flexible in terms of allowing late assignments within a certain window of time. One in particular is that first baseline video. If you do need to have additional time for a baseline video, for instance, I've had students that have, that had everything lined up, and then the person they were going to do their baseline video with came down with COVID. And so, the 2-week period where they can't work with that particular person. But for that first baseline video and for a lot of the work, I need it to be done before immersion week. You'll notice that there isn't as much in terms of content in some of the weeks, and that's intentional because of how intense to a degree that your immersion week is. We'll have a lot of role plays going on during immersion week, the observations, but there's periods of lecture as well, and presentations that'll be given by me, by the other instructor, and potentially guest speakers as well, past students. So you're getting a lot of time, within that 1 week, but really about 40 hours worth of the overall course time within that one particular week. So With that being said, I also post on eCampus in the discussion area a questions for Dr. Simpson section. So if you have a question about the syllabus, if you have a question about the class, if you find any kind of mistake in a schedule or the syllabus, that's a good spot to put it so that everybody else in the class is able to see it. Feel free to reach out to me through course messages. I get on eCampus basically every day. I try to take off a day during the weekends, or I really get, scolded by my 6-year-old. But so I'm usually on eCampus every day, but I'm on, my Outlook email all the time because it's on my phone. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And again, I really look forward to getting to know all of you this semester. Really excited. I love teaching this class. I love seeing the growth. I really, truly do love seeing the growth from the first, baseline video to the last one. And so, yeah, that's all I've got. I like to keep it under 20 minutes, and you'll probably be hearing from me again through little lecturettes in each course module. So enjoy your first week. I hope everybody gets settled okay, and I'll see you all during the orientation.